imagining all sorts of imaginary numbers right now. I'm imagining imaginary numbers. Yo, hello there. You are there, aren't you? Forgive my confusion. So hard to tell these days. You seem familiar somehow. I'm guessing, you're here for your brain, perhaps? It's just up there. Such a nice brain. Little hard to see you. Depth perception is a problem. Should look at getting the visual nerves reattached. It's just that the right eye would see. Would you... I have all sorts of amazingly... I forget them all not long after. Had to start using the dome floor and walls here to inscribe equations, although I've somewhat lost track of where they start and end. Really? That implies preconceived... After all, it might be worth a cognitive realignment if your theoretical Mobius... Do you? And does it even want to go back with you? Tell you what, The ghosts aren't real? That changes everything. Why, I can save my computing power for other perceptual impossibilities. Please be my guest. The receptor is there, and the side-switching wobbly bob, just turn that. Good, good, better. Oh. Oh, a variety of raisins. You're something of a homily. Anomaly? You see, you are the most successful. If you were to go back with what your brain could be popped back in and you... I'm not sure, except that I'm sure there's a very good reason for it. I have very good reasons for almost everything I do. Even if I forget them occasionally. Oh, I was probably tripping hard on Psycho when I sent that. So many chems, such variety. As for the Psycho, sometimes get the chem dispositories in my tank all switched up. Did I? Maybe I did. You and your brain are quite... Dr. Mobius. Rather catch... This name's as real as you or I. Oh, someone's been watching too many old-world science fiction movies, it said. I must admit I have a vulnerability. Like the think tank, we were all reprogrammed to forget them, take on new names. It enforces the recursion loop in our perception programming. Now, trap is a rather harsh... But, yes, I did. I certainly didn't until you... The radar fan... evidence to keep the think tank hemmed in wasn't really enough. I suspect I have Plan 9s in place, so I had to do something. Oh, you figured it out. No pun intended. Dr. O, which is actually not his real name multiplied, since you can't multiply his real name in the first place. Ouroboros, Klein, they have all forgotten themselves. And not only them, I reproved. It was a merciful lobotomy, really, thinking back. And the world isn't ready for that kind of too-far thing-taking. That's my... Really? It is so unlike me to make an error in anything I do. Well, it's simple. Without something to distract them, make them afraid, then you came along, the fight. There have been other visitors to make them doubt. You were irrefutable proof that there... See, your brain had a I would spell it out for you. In any event, you should. Bullets in the head are usually much more, but it was enough for the autodoc in the... That gave the think tank the knowledge its brains shouldn't. If they obtained that procedural data, they... And... Oh no, I doubt your brain would be so unreasonable. It already knows the trick of it. If you become friends or exist in an uneasy... Well, once the think tank was... I consider coincidence to be profanity. My threat broadcast is designed to instill and install... It prompted them to focus on... And coincidentally... Oh... The X2 antenna can be used, and the sonic sound wave... In short, brains, they had them all the time. Yes, my overly Oh, and the get me the things to castrate your only possible escape. But I couldn't delete you. You're really quite difficult to ignore, you know. Indeed. The goodbye part of our little chat, then. Goodbye. Please mind the equation. I'm imagining... sorts of imaginary numbers right now. I'm having the... Oh, intriguing. Well, if there's... How should we be... Whoa, have they... They can assemble themselves from minions, destroy... Attacking with a capital G!
Well, well, look who finally dragged... Ah! Well, that's a fine how do you do. Me, quote, Dick, unquote. I'm not the one that makes us clamber around Technus-infested ancient vaults or go chop... And have we forgotten who got us shot in the head and buried in a shallow... I most certainly am not. All those feeling glands. They come from glands, free of the tyranny. And you're an expert on your own. Fun? Fun? The things you do with our body are suicidally dangerous. And if you could silence... I'm not going to lie to you. Look at it from my perspective. In your head, I've got poor... Do you know how much more you can get done when you're not constantly looking? Overrated biological feedback. Believe me. I suppose you're... Indeed. Quite... I suppose there might be some advantage to that, yes. It's not that I didn't like being in your head, you understand? Well then, I suppose... And you believe them? Once I'm delivered into their clutches, they'll find a way... And that is assuming, of course, that one of them doesn't take a fancy to our body. Well, I suppose I do. Right! Look out, think tank! I suppose now that we're reunited, you'll want to fill your torso up with those other meaty parts the think tank took from... Personally, I think your upgrades are quite a bit better. But now that I'm... Right then, off we go! Klein will be in for a...
require some... No, not scalpel. The fish scalpel. You require some additional...
You should really... You're... No.
The lobotomite return. A fight? Cody! Behold the power of... Let's gang up on it, guys! As it had been in the years before the Great War, Big Mountain, the Big Empty, became home to one of the brightest minds of the 23rd century. The courier watched over the Big Empty for years to come, caring for it and keeping its discoveries safe until they were needed to help others, which had always been Big Mountain's purpose. Past the laboratories and science, it had always been intended as a place to build the future of all mankind.
The courier had scoured much of the Big Empty, although secrets still remained in the crater's depths. Perhaps that was for the best, however. Curiosity, while sometimes rewarded for its efforts, often proves to be equally dangerous.
The Forbidden Zone continued to be, true to its name, forbidden. No more robo-scorpions were sighted in its canyons. Big Mountain became even emptier, devoid of Dr. Mobius's proclamations forecasting the destruction of anything that dared possess sentience. Still, it is said he lived on in the equations inscribed on the floor and walls of the Forbidden Zone dome. A cobweb tracery of symbols that told of 1,000 brilliant thoughts, now lost to time.
The sink atop the dome bustled with the voices of a small town, constantly chirping, arguing, and snarling at each other. Still, this all happened productively in the interests of its new owner. The Sync Central Intelligence Unit discovered, despite its inversion code, it was comforted by the sense of community the other personalities gave it.
The Biological Research Station, obsessed with seeding everything in sight, requested a transfer to the X-22 Botanical Garden, so that it might, in its own words, sensually fertilize the garden's smooth contours. The garden sent back a polite refusal, saying it had prior commitments with a vault it had helped infect before the war.
The book chute continued to devour all seditious materials until it nearly choked on a paperclip. It adamantly maintained it was a Chinese paperclip, and the whole thing had been an elaborately orchestrated assassination attempt. Whatever the reason, it slowed down for a while, carefully appraising each document and clipboard that came to it.
The light switches continued to bicker and flicker.
This persisted until the day someone dropped a flashlight in the sink, and the two of them united in their hatred of the showboat.
The sink continued to ruthlessly scrub any particulate matter that came near it. Eventually, it gained access to the magnetohydraulics plant and nearly flooded all the Big Empty in an attempt to scrub the crater clean. Once it learned of the innovative toxins plant, however, it gained new purpose. It sought to develop antitoxins to flush into its drains and counteract the poisons bleeding into the soil.
The toaster continued its psychotic spree, reducing all appliances in range to scrap electronics and spare parts. After one of its more psychotic episodes, however, the other Sync personalities decided enough was enough and dumped the toaster in a bathtub. Sparking and hissing, the toaster swore its enemies would rue the day when they had bread and no way to toast it.
Muggy did his best to collect coffee cups, although in his quest, he accidentally trapped himself in Higgs Village. It might have been the end for poor Muggy, except he found it peaceful there, tidying up the kitchens of the think tank professors back when they had been flesh and bone. Well, except for Dr. O, who was an asshole for having created Muggy in the first place. Muggy left O's house deliberately dirty, punishing the dishes and cups that lived there in blind revenge for serving Dr. O.
Blind old Jefferson, with sounds the courier brought him, created a symphonic counter-frequency that saved Big Mountain from sonic invasion in 2910. If you didn't hear about it, good. It was rumored by the other personalities that he had a brief fling with the light switches, although he forgot their names much too often and was soon left in the dark as punishment.
Autodoc, always gentle and methodical, kept sewing up the courier in all the right places when the skin split open from repeated wear and tear. The Autodoc was just glad to have purpose again. It heard its simpler brothers and sisters who got shipped to the Sierra Madre were bored out of their skulls in that toxic dead city. In time, the Autodoc found a way to deactivate the Y-17 trauma harnesses. releasing the corpses they had held prisoner for almost 200 years.
As the courier ran through the X8 facility multiple times, the computers analyzed the test subject's movements. Rather than performing a superficial observation, they realized the subject barely knew what communism was, or even what a high school was. This confused them for a time, until the facility finally realized that its research had succeeded. So it let its cyber dogs out into the wastes to help protect small communities from physical aggression rather than communist propaganda.
The infiltration program in X-13 felt spent, having repeatedly upgraded the stealth suit until it could upgrade it no more. It felt warm, fulfilled, and a bit sluggish. It realized not long after the stealth suit had left it without so much as a note on the nightstand. So the infiltration program sent out robo-brains into the wastes, looking for its wayward technology. It eventually found Repcon HQ and set up a new research center, testing and murdering fiends who kept breaking into the facility.
The courier, organs intact, continued onwards, a little less heavy of step, but with all the organs in the right places, as they should be. After all, brains can develop a life of their own when left to their own thoughts, and the courier's brain was more clever than most.
The think tank basement, filled with the lobotomized robotical frames of the doctors, now served as a graveyard. The monitors had recorded the battle in its entirety, including the think tank's final, shrill, terrified screams, whimpers, and pleas for mercy. They broadcast these humiliating last moments as a warning to anyone approaching the perimeter that other smarty pants were not welcome. The courier was the inheritor of the Big Empty, and there was room for only one will in the halls of the think tank dome.
There is an expression in the Wasteland, old world blues.
It refers to those so obsessed with the past they can't see the present, much less the future, for what it is.
They stare into the what was, eyes like pilot lights, guttering and spent, as the realities of their world continue on around them.
Science is a long, steady progression into the future. What may seem a sudden event often isn't felt for years, even centuries to come.
In the times following the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, however, old world blues took on a new meaning.
Where once it was viewed as a form of sadness, nostalgia, it became an expression describing the potential for the future.
It can be easy to see science as evil, technology unchecked as the source of all ills, all misfortunes.
With the courier at the helm, science became a beacon for the future. There was old world blues, and new world hope. And hope ruled the day at Big Mountain.
We could say more, but the stories in the Big Empty speak for themselves. Now armed with the transportal Ponder, the courier could return to the dome at any time and crack open the secrets of the Big Empty one by one. The sink sat vigilant, waiting for its master to return, shoes covered in Mojave dust. Only one road yet remained, and it was one the courier had to walk alone. Huzzah, sir! Huzzah! Huzzah, sir! Might I be safe in the assumption that... Sir be staying for... Will Sir be staying for...
Please, please, please tell me you stump. Who's the flatware bitch now, oh?
Greetings, citizen.